the movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God. The movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God was founded in the late 1980s by Credonia Moirinde and Joseph Kibwetere in Uganda. This cult was known for its strict adherence to the Ten Commandments. To avoid lying, which they believed was a sin, members communicated using sign language. The group claimed that the Virgin Mary spoke to them directly, which reinforced their apocalyptic beliefs. Members sold all their possessions in preparation for the end of the world. The cult's tragic end came in 2000, when over 700 members died in a mass murder-suicide orchestrated by the leaders. At its peak, the movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God had around 5,000 followers. Their extreme beliefs and actions, including the mass death event, left a lasting impact and are remembered as one of the most disturbing cult tragedies in history. Etherious Society. The Etherious Society, founded in England by George King in 1955, mixes spirituality with science fiction. The cult believes that advanced aliens from planets like Venus and Mars are guiding humanity. They claim these aliens communicate directly with their leaders. One of their strange practices is Operation Prayer Power, where members chant to store spiritual energy in batteries for world healing. They also believe a cosmic master will come to save humanity. Despite these odd beliefs, the society has a few thousand followers worldwide. Their influence has decreased since George King's death in 1997. The group's focus on UFOs and cosmic energy, along with their unusual rituals, makes them one of the most interesting and peculiar cults. Agori Cult. The Agori Cult in India is one of the most mysterious and bizarre groups in the world. Agoris believe that true enlightenment comes from embracing what society considers impure. They perform rituals in cremation grounds, meditate on human corpses, and use human skulls as drinking bowls. Their belief is that by confronting death and decay, they can transcend the material world and attain spiritual liberation. The Agoris' practices include smearing themselves with cremation ashes, eating human flesh, and engaging in cannibalistic rituals, which they believe help them to gain supernatural powers. These shocking practices have made them both feared and fascinated by the public. Despite their terrifying reputation, the Agoris are a small sect with only a few hundred followers. Their downfall began with increased media scrutiny and legal actions against their more extreme rituals. The Matamoros Cult. The Narco-Satanists, or the Matamoros Cult, is a terrifying cult in Mexico's history. Led by Adolfo de Jesus Constanzo in the 1980s, this cult combined elements of Palo Mayombe, a dark Afro-Caribbean religion, with gruesome rituals to gain supernatural protection and power. Constanzo, known as El Padrino, promised his followers invincibility and prosperity through human sacrifice. The cult's most shocking practices involved torturing and killing victims, often drug traffickers, to use their body parts in ritualistic ceremonies. They believed these sacrifices would grant them immunity from the law and rival gangs. The cult operated on a ranch in Matamoros, where they performed these horrific rites. Their downfall came in 1989 when American student Mark Kilroy was kidnapped and murdered by the cult. This high-profile case led to an intense police investigation that uncovered the cult's gruesome activities. Constanzo and several key members were eventually killed or captured, bringing an end to the narco-Satanists' reign of terror. The Raelian Movement. France is known for its rich culture and history, but it also birthed one of the world's most weird cults, the Raelian Movement. Founded in 1974 by Claude Varlon, who later became Rael, this cult teaches that life on Earth was created by aliens called the Elohim. Rael claimed to have met these extraterrestrials and received their messages. The Raelian Movement promotes free love and has some of the strangest beliefs and practices. They are famous for their advocacy of human cloning, even setting up a company called Clonaid, which claimed to have produced the first human clone in 2002. Their annual sensual meditation sessions are another peculiar aspect, where members gather to meditate and engage in activities meant to enhance sensual pleasure and spiritual connection. Despite their unusual beliefs, the Raelian Movement has managed to attract around 90,000 members worldwide. However, their influence remains limited. Guru Maharaji. In 1980, a man named Muhammad Ajirabatin Ibrahim, later known as Guru Maharaji, declared himself the living perfect master in Nigeria. He founded a cult that promised followers divine powers and eternal life. Guru Maharaji claimed to be an incarnation of God, and attracted a few thousand devotees who believed in his extraordinary abilities. His followers live in isolated communes where they worship him as a deity and engage in strange rituals. These practices include chanting, meditation, and communal living, all aimed at achieving spiritual enlightenment and eternal life. One of the most weird aspects is the belief that Guru Maharaji can control natural elements and perform miracles. Despite these claims, the cult has been smeared in controversy and legal issues. Allegations of brainwashing, exploitation, and human rights abuses have tarnished its image. Nevertheless, the cult remains active, with a spiritual headquarters known as the Satguru Maharaji village. This village is situated among the Ibadan-Lagos Expressway near Ibadan in Oyo State, Nigeria. The Order of the Solar Temple. The Order of the Solar Temple had bases in Canada, Switzerland, and France due to its international ambitions and the backgrounds of its founders, Joseph de Membro and Luc Charette. Established in 1984, this group blended Templar legends with New Age mysticism, attracting a diverse following. Known for their strange rituals, members wore ceremonial robes and participated in secretive rites, convinced of an impending apocalypse. They believed that death would lead them to a new life on a distant star. These beliefs resulted in tragic events during the 1990s, when the cult was associated with several mass suicides and murders. In 1994 and 1997, the world was horrified by a series of orchestrated deaths within the cult, leading to its collapse. Authorities intervened, and the remaining leaders either died or were apprehended. At its height, the Order of the Solar Temple had around 400 to 500 followers. Nexian. Even in our modern world, cults like Nexium still shockingly exist. Founded by Keith Raniere, Nexium started as a self-help group, promising to boost personal growth and professional success. However, behind this facade was a sinister reality. Raniere, who was idolized by his followers, used his influence to control and abuse them. One of the most disturbing aspects was a secret subgroup called DOS. Here, women were branded with Raniere's initials using a cauterizing pen, a painful and terrifying ritual. This was just the beginning. Members were coerced into sexual slavery and subjected to intense psychological manipulation. They were made to believe that enduring this pain was a path to enlightenment and growth. The cult's downfall began when brave former members spoke out. In 2018, Raniere was arrested and later convicted on charges like sex trafficking and racketeering. At its peak, Nexium had around 16,000 members, but the courage of a few exposed its dark truth. Love has won. Cult leaders often believe they are incarnations of past spiritual leaders or religious figures, and Love Has Won was no different. Founded by Amy Carlson, who called herself Mother God, this cult took crazy beliefs to a whole new level. Carlson's followers were convinced she was the reincarnation of various deities, including Jesus Christ and Cleopatra. The cult subjected its members to extreme detoxes, sleep deprivation, and strange rituals. They claimed Carlson had miraculous healing powers and that she would lead 144,000 chosen ones into a new world. Followers were made to live in harsh conditions, convinced that their suffering would lead to spiritual enlightenment. Love Has Won gained national attention in 2021 when Carlson's mummified body was found in Colorado, wrapped in Christmas lights and glitter. This shocking discovery led to several arrests and the cult's effective disbandment. Although the group had a small but dedicated following, the bizarre and tragic end of their leader marked the downfall of Love Has Won. Panawave Laboratory. Let's move into Japan, where one of the most peculiar cults in recent history emerged. The Panawave Laboratory. Founded in the 1970s by Yuko Chino, this cult was based on the belief that electromagnetic waves were harming humans and the environment. Chino convinced her followers that these waves were causing catastrophic changes and that they needed to take extreme measures to protect themselves. Members of Panawave Laboratory were easily recognizable by their all-white attire. They dressed in white from head to toe and even wrapped their buildings and vehicles in white cloth, believing this would shield them from harmful electromagnetic radiation. This peculiar sight of white-clad individuals and wrapped structures drew a lot of attention and curiosity from the public. The cult also predicted doomsday scenarios, claiming that natural disasters and environmental changes were signs of the impending apocalypse. They frequently moved their headquarters to remote locations, trying to escape what they saw as deadly waves. Despite these practices and outrageous beliefs, the group maintained a few hundred dedicated followers. Panawave Laboratory's influence waned significantly after the death of Yuko Chino in 2006. Without their charismatic leader, the group's activities dwindled, and their doomsday predictions failed to materialize. The cult's strange rituals and the spectacle of their white-wrapped world remain a fascinating chapter in the story of modern-day cults. The Family International. It's interesting how cults convert people, but the methods of the cult we are talking about next will leave your jaws dropping. The Family International, originally known as the Children of God, was founded by David Berg in 1968. This cult is infamous for its controversial and disturbing practices. Berg, who later called himself Moses David, claimed divine guidance and led his followers into a lifestyle of free love and communal living. One of the most shocking tactics used by the Family International was flirty fishing. This involved female members using sex to recruit new followers, believing it was a way to show God's love. This method not only targeted vulnerable individuals, but also brought severe scrutiny and scandal. At its peak, the Family International had around 10,000 members. However, the cult's reputation took a significant hit due to numerous allegations of child sexual abuse and exploitation. Children within the group were subjected to horrific abuse under the guise of religious teaching, which led to widespread condemnation. The cult's acts and the leadership's manipulative control over members eventually led to public outrage and legal challenges. In the 2000s, facing mounting pressure and scandal, the group rebranded and restructured, attempting to distance itself from its controversial past. Despite these efforts, the legacy of the Family International is still remembered by its history of exploitation and abuse. The Family. What about in Australia, where another bizarre family cult known as the Family operated? Founded in the 1960s by Anne Hamilton Byrne, this cult believed that Hamilton Byrne was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. The family had a particularly eerie practice. They illegally adopted children and raised them in isolation, convincing them they were part of a special mission to save the world. These children were forced to dye their hair blonde to look like siblings, and were subjected to extreme psychological and physical abuse. The cult administered LSD to the children, and Hamilton Byrne maintained strict control over every aspect of their lives, enforcing rigid discipline and harsh punishments. The cult's sinister activities came to light in the late 1980s when some of the children escaped and revealed their harrowing experiences. This led to a police investigation and the eventual arrest of Anne Hamilton Byrne in 1993. Despite the severity of her actions, she faced minimal legal repercussions due to her age and mental health defenses. The People's Temple. To end this list, let's not forget the infamous cult of Pastor Jim Jones. Known as the People's Temple, this cult began in the 1950s and grew under Jones's charismatic leadership. Initially preaching a mix of Christianity and socialist ideals, Jones attracted thousands of followers with promises of equality and social justice. But beneath the surface, the reality was far darker. Jones exerted total control over his followers, using psychological manipulation, physical abuse, and even fake healings to maintain his grip. In the 1970s, he moved the cult to a remote settlement in Guyana, South America, which he called Jonestown. There, his behavior became increasingly erratic and paranoid. The cult's horrifying downfall came in 1978, when U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan visited Jonestown to investigate reports of abuse. During the visit, Ryan and several others were ambushed and killed by Jones's guards. In the chaos that followed, Jones orchestrated a mass suicide murder, forcing over 900 followers, including children, to drink cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. The tragedy of Jonestown remains one of the most chilling examples of how charismatic leadership and extreme control can lead to devastating outcomes. Which of these cults do you find the most disturbing? The comment section awaits all your comments and questions. For more interesting videos, click the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell. You don't want to miss anything. See you in the next video.